chosen one. You didn't just click on this by chance. You were summoned here. That tug you feel in your spirit, that's confirmation that heaven has been watching you, even when you felt invisible. You are not ordinary. You are not overlooked. You are not forgotten. You've been walking through tests nobody knew about, carrying weights nobody clapped for, saying no to things that glittered but weren't gold. And now heaven is about to show you why it all mattered. Let me talk straight to you. You are rare. You are trusted. You are dangerous to darkness because you didn't fold when you could have. This is not just a message. This is a signal, a divine announcement to remind you that every quiet sacrifice you made shook the unseen world and positioned you for what's coming next. So lean in. This is for you, the one who stayed loyal when it hurt, the one who stayed planted when it would have been easier to run, the one who stayed pure when compromise felt cheaper. Take a breath and let this hit your soul. You are about to see why God hid you, why He delayed you, and what He saved you from. You are not just here to listen, you are here to awaken, to remember who you are, to stand taller in what you carry. And as you read on, know this: you are chosen, you are covered, and you are about to find out just how much your discipline preserved what was already yours. Looking for purpose and peace? Hit subscribe and start the journey. You are someone who has walked through more unseen battles than you even realize, and yet you're still here. That is not because danger never came close, but because you were shielded in ways you couldn't detect. There were schemes crafted so carefully, designed to appeal to your desires, your wounds, even your faith. Opportunities that appeared harmless, even divinely timed, but carried threads meant to unravel you. Without fanfare, heaven rerouted you, not with loud alarms, but with subtle nudges, a sudden disinterest, a door that wouldn't budge, a quiet unrest you couldn't explain. You didn't hear the whispers of those who doubted you in secret. You didn't feel the snares laid out to catch your feet. You didn't notice the strategies formed to take advantage of your weariness or your hope, but heaven saw every detail. You stood at the edge of agreements that would have drained your spirit dry, disguised as blessings, but seeded with compromise, tangled connections, or hidden motives. Some of it came dressed as support. Some of it wore the face of love. Some of it even carried the language of faith. Make your impact eternal. Join now and be a light in someone's darkness. But beneath the surface, it would have fractured your focus, diluted your purpose, and shackled what you carry. And yet you didn't step into it. You resisted the pull to act out of fear or desperation. You let the silence speak when it needed to. You chose depth over display, discernment over impulse, alignment over instant gratification. Every pause, every quiet no, every decision to walk away when nothing made sense. That was protection. Those moments when you wondered if you'd missed your chance were actually when you bypassed a trap. There were rooms you never entered that would have drained your confidence. People you didn't call back who would have shattered your trust. Plans you abandoned that would have stolen your time and dulled your light. You didn't see how close it all came, but heaven did, and intervened, not because you got lucky, but because you chose to stay rooted when it would have been easier to waver. Every hidden moment of obedience became a wall against the chaos waiting for you. Every time you chose what was right over what was easy, you rewrote the ending. You didn't just avoid trouble. You sidestepped a spiritual snare designed to silence your progress. That's why you still have clarity. That's why you still have peace. That's why your footing remains steady. Because even when you couldn't name the danger, Your discipline refused to invite it in, and that discipline became your deliverance. Feel God's love stirring within you? Don't let it stop there. Hit the super thank you button and sow a seed of $20 or more. That simple act can ignite hope, heal hearts, and carry His love further than you imagine. You are made to shine His light. This is your moment. Be the miracle someone's been praying for. Let heaven move through you. You are someone who has been quietly building when no one was clapping, standing firm when nothing seemed to move, saying yes when everything in you wanted to walk away. That doesn't feel heroic, but in heaven's eyes, it is sacred. Discipline rarely feels exciting. It doesn't come dressed in celebration. Most days it feels thankless, unnoticed, even lonely. You look around and see others sprinting ahead, cutting corners, collecting quick wins, while you're called to tread slowly, carefully, intentionally. You've turned down invitations others would accept without thought. You've risen early in silence, kept praying when the room was empty, kept showing up even with tired hands and a stretched heart. Discipline is quiet when your soul craves noise. It is steadfast when your flesh demands proof. It keeps walking when your mind begs for shortcuts. What the world rewards is loud and instant, but what heaven notices is consistent and unseen. Every quiet no you uttered, every time you chose alignment over impulse, every small act of obedience was recorded and reckoned. You didn't grab at what sparkled. You didn't manipulate outcomes to look impressive. You didn't force timelines to feel relevant. You didn't compromise your standard to feel included. Instead, you stayed rooted. You let yourself be refined. You trusted the pace even when it bruised your ego. And that is why you're still here. Why unseen battles never reached you. Why silent attacks lost their power before they touched you. Your discipline became your defense. What felt like restraint was actually heaven preserving you. What seemed like limitation was redirection in disguise. What looked like stagnation was scaffolding being built to carry weight you can't yet see. Many stumble, not in storms, but in stillness. Not in crisis, but in waiting. It's easy to drift when the work is quiet and the reward feels far away. But you didn't. You chose to stay. You let your roots grow deeper instead of wandering off. Discipline isn't just about control. It's about authority. Each time you chose patience over panic, you declared to the unseen that your trust wasn't in the clock, but in the one who holds it. That trust spoke volumes where words couldn't. It gave heaven the green light to shut down ambushes and scatter every plan meant to derail you. While others doubted your choices, heaven called them enough to shift your destiny. Discipline may look ordinary to others, but it is the soil of holiness. And holiness builds the kind of foundation that lasts when others crumble. You didn't just practice restraint. You became a danger to anything that thrives on chaos. And because of that, what was forged in secret will soon be honored in the open. Not because you demanded it, but because heaven decided it's time. You have faced moments when your strength felt thin, when the weight of waiting pressed heavy against your spirit. You've watched others sprint ahead, celebrated and praised, while you stood in what felt like a quiet wilderness, wondering if your perseverance even mattered anymore. Make your impact eternal. Join now and be a light in someone's darkness. You felt the temptation to lower your guard, to release the convictions you once held so tightly, to step away from what you knew was right for something that at least felt immediate. You thought, why bother holding this line? Maybe the cost of obedience is too steep. Maybe it doesn't even matter anymore. But somewhere deeper, beneath the doubt and fatigue, something unshakable stirred. You couldn't fully explain it, but it was clear. Don't move. Don't react out of frustration. Don't trade the eternal for something temporary. Stand still and let it pass. What you didn't realize in that exact moment was how close danger had crept. You didn't see the snares hidden under what seemed harmless. You didn't hear the whispers weaving through the silence, hoping you'd crack. You didn't see how intricately darkness had prepared to exploit your weariness. But heaven saw everything. Your quiet refusal to break at that crossroads became a shield. Your stillness turned into a fortress. Your restraint shut the door before destruction could slip through. While you thought you were just enduring another hard day, the unseen was shifting. Forces assigned to delay you lost their footing. Words sent to wound you dissolved before they reached you. What was meant to trap you never even touched you because you stayed anchored. You didn't win that battle with noise or bravado. You won it by not moving, by not reacting, by letting your spirit remain aligned when everything in your flesh screamed to abandon it. That silence, that was strategy. Feel God's love stirring within you. Don't let it stop there. Hit the super thank you button and sow a seed of $20 or more. That simple act can ignite hope, heal hearts, and carry His love further than you imagine. You were made to shine His light. This is your moment. Be the miracle someone's been praying for. Let heaven move through you. The enemy was banking on your exhaustion, making you reckless. He assumed your silence meant surrender. He mistook your stillness for defeat. But your quiet resistance invited something holy to intervene. You stood in grace even when you felt fragile. You chose trust over impulse, and that choice became the turning point. That moment when you thought about quitting was actually the moment you passed one of the fiercest tests of your journey. You endured. You held the line when it mattered most. What looked ordinary to you was actually heaven fighting on your behalf because you refused to step out of position. So don't diminish what you did that day. What felt like just surviving was actually one of the greatest victories of your life. Not because of what you said or did, but because you remained faithful when it would have been easier to let go. You are someone who chose integrity when no one was watching. You walked away from what glittered, but didn't align. You kept your hands clean and your heart steady, even when compromise was closer and easier. No crowd cheered when you turned down what would have boosted your image but fractured your soul. No spotlight found you when you chose silence over gossip or calm over retaliation. No one posted about the night you wept quietly but still kept your posture upright. But the unseen noticed. The heavens saw every quiet choice you made, every hidden sacrifice, every decision that cost you applause but protected your spirit. While others judged you by what they could see, heaven kept record of what you were when no eyes were on you. Every unspoken prayer, every private battle, every quiet victory was witnessed in full. You did not choose restraint to impress anyone. You weren't trying to curate an image or earn validation. You simply knew there was more at stake, and you refused to sell yourself short. You stood where others stumbled. You waited when others ran ahead. You gave when you could have withheld. You held your tongue when speaking would have satisfied your flesh. Those small, unseen acts have built a testimony no one else can replicate. Your discipline was never about performing. It was about staying aligned. Every step you took in silence became a seed sown in sacred ground. And now, because of what you did not reach for, what you did not bow to, what you did not say yes to, the doors you've been praying for are beginning to unlock. Not because you are perfect, but because you were trustworthy. not because you earned it, but because heaven can now entrust you to carry it without contamination. What's about to come to you isn't a reward for showy faith or hollow rituals. It is the natural harvest of faithfulness in obscurity. Trust like yours is not forged overnight. It's cultivated quietly in the spaces where no one claps and no one notices, when it's easier to give up and harder to keep going. God isn't looking for flawless, He's looking for surrendered. He honors the heart that says, even unseen, I choose you above all else. That posture, your quiet resolve, has distinguished you. You weren't just behaving well, you were being shaped by something higher. That discipline became your gateway to favor. So don't be surprised when alignment begins to find you. When doors open without you forcing them. When platforms appear without you pushing. It isn't because you changed. It's because what you built in secret is now bearing fruit in the open. The blessing that's coming isn't man-made. It's heaven's response to what you carried privately. And now, chosen one, it's your time to walk in it. You've proven something the enemy hoped you'd never discover. That his influence collapses the moment you decide not to flinch. He threw frustration like stones, hoping to crack your resolve. He whispered doubt into quiet spaces, hoping to lure you off course. He draped the path with detours that sparkled just enough to look harmless. And yet, you stayed the course. He expected your weariness to turn into rebellion. He counted on delay, making you careless. He believed betrayal would sour your faith. But you didn't move. You didn't bend. You didn't let the chaos write your next step. What you exposed in that silence is what terrifies darkness, that its reach stops at the edge of your surrender to something greater. You didn't win with noise. You didn't need to argue, to shout, to claw your way out. You didn't even need to fight the way the world fights. You simply stood your ground. You chose not to take the bait. That stillness dismantled every scheme before it could reach you. He misread you completely. He mistook quiet for weakness, mistook restraint for defeat. While he watched for outrage, you rooted yourself deeper. While he waited for you to lash out, you leaned in. While he expected a fracture, you became whole. And now, he sees it clearly. You are not just called, you are conditioned. You are not just gifted, you are governed. You are not swayed by flattery or fear. You are not undone by delay or distraction. You are anchored in truth that cannot be twisted. You survived this season not by chance, but by choice. Each quiet decision to trust over react was a line drawn in the spirit, declaring, this one cannot be manipulated. This one will not bow for convenience. This one holds the word above their will. That unnerves him more than any shout ever could. Because flashy gifts can be faked, but discipline forged in silence cannot be duplicated. The very fires he sent to consume you only refined you. The traps meant to snare you became lessons you now discern before they form. He threw every shadow he could, and still you stood. He tugged at your doubts, and you kept your footing. He tried to harden your heart, and you kept it soft enough to hear. Now, he knows, you're no longer just a target, you're a threat. Not because you're louder, but because you're unwavering. Not because you know how to perform, but because you know how to stand. What you've built in discipline, no darkness can dismantle. Hell does not fear the loudest believer. It fears the steady one, the one who does not chase approval, but listens for quiet instructions, the one who lives what they claim, even in obscurity. You are that one. You've shown the limits of the enemy's reach and the power of holy resolve. What you built in quiet obedience cannot be undone, and what you've exposed cannot be hidden again. You are someone who has endured the quiet season with more grace than you realized. You've stayed the course through silence and mystery, through doors that stayed shut, through paths that seemed to go nowhere. Soon, you'll understand why it all had to happen that way. What you couldn't see yet is about to be brought to light, and it will take your breath away in wonder, not in worry. God will show you why the timing was slowed, why connections faded before they bloomed, why what you thought you were ready for stayed out of reach. He has been shielding you from collisions you never knew you were walking toward. The whispers you ignored, the uneasy feelings you honored, the opportunities you declined, all of them were quiet barricades built around your destiny. You thought you were overlooked. You thought maybe you'd missed something or failed some unseen test. But really, the divine was at work clearing unseen wreckage from your path. When the curtain lifts, you'll recognize how close you came to danger, dressed as blessing. You'll see people entangled in situations you nearly accepted. You'll hear stories of shattered peace where you almost planted yourself and whisper, "That could have been me." You'll recognize how a single yes in the wrong direction would have drained the very essence of who you are. And you'll stand in awe, not of the threats, but of how faithfully you were kept from them. What felt like confinement was actually a fortress. What felt like denial was disguised deliverance. There were agreements waiting to entrap you, relationships poised to break your spirit, deals designed to fracture your focus, and heaven quietly dissolved them before they reached you. What looked like loss was simply a hand closing what would have poisoned your purpose. If you'd pushed ahead, if you'd ignored that quiet restraint in your soul, you would have called it favor and stepped into a snare. But because you listened, because you paused, because you stayed close to what was holy, heaven had room to act on your behalf. People drifted not because they disliked you, but because something higher removed them before they could dismantle you. They came with smiles, but carried assignments that would have left you empty. The ties were cut before they could wrap around your calling. The false intentions dissolved before they could infect your spirit. Very soon, you will see it clearly. The narrow escapes, the almosts, the calamities you walked right past without even knowing they were there. You'll realize the walls were mercy. The delays were protection. The loneliness was sanctuary. What you thought was simply discipline was actually preservation. And what you thought you lost was what was saving your life all along. You have been proving in silence what others could never see. And now the season of unlocking has arrived. Every quiet yes you gave, every hidden choice that cost you comfort but kept you aligned, has been building toward this moment. This is not just favor arriving by chance. It is the fruit of staying steady when compromise felt easier. What you've been nurturing in private, through fatigue and faith, is ready to break through. The trials you endured were not just tests of patience, but preparation for capacity. Your destiny was not waiting on a calendar date, but on the maturity you've now walked into. What's opening ahead of you is not random. It's the harvest of all those invisible victories. While others raced to be seen, you stayed rooted. While shortcuts whispered, you stood your ground. While temptations sparkled, you kept your hands clean. And heaven has watched you prove, time and again, that you can be trusted to handle more without losing yourself. What felt like delay was really the sharpening of your discernment. What seemed like silence was really an audience of angels taking note. What looked like loss was the clearing of clutter so you could stand uncluttered in your calling. The assignments that felt stalled are now being activated without resistance. Connections you thought were lost are returning at the right time, with the right intentions. The right doors are swinging wide, and you won't need to force them open. They've been waiting for you to grow into their weight. This is not about luck. It is about alignment. You held the line when nobody applauded, and that discipline became the very key to your release. Your name is being spoken in rooms you haven't entered yet. People and resources are already moving toward you, not because you demanded them, but because your obedience pulled them in. You did not reach this moment by scrambling to be noticed, but by cultivating quiet integrity. What you preserved through restraint, what you protected through reverence, what you carried through resistance, is now being revealed. You are not late. You are not overlooked. You are arriving exactly when heaven intended. Every unseen act of faith you sowed has been maturing under the surface, and now it breaks through in ways no opposition can undo. You're stepping into rooms not because of your charm, but because of your character. You didn't climb your way here by force. You were lifted here by trust. So step into it boldly. Do not minimize it. Do not explain it away. Do not apologize for what obedience has unlocked. This is not just your time. This is your unveiling. The light is shifting towards you not because you performed, but because you persevered. And now, heaven is showcasing what it built in secret. You didn't just endure the waiting. You became ready for the wait. Walk into it unshaken. You earned nothing by entitlement, but received everything by faith. And what discipline birthed, nothing can dismantle.